Peace and blessings, everyone. This is Raisa Kiwala, the divorced Muslimah coach. We're on day 10 today of our journey together, and I really hope and pray that these messages are helping you in your own evolution, your own transformation, because as human beings, we're always evolving and moving forward. So today, what I wanted to focus on is being utterly dependent on the Creator rather than His creation, and with that, to live with fearless confidence. And I say that because fear holds us back, or the perception of being afraid of something keeps us stuck, keeps us held back, and we don't need to be that way. We're not designed or created to be that way. We are not created and put on this earth to people please. That's not the purpose of our creation. How many times do we worry about what are people going to think and feel about what I have to say, or the decisions that I'm making or not making? Remember, going back, that our feelings are always coming from thought in the moment. And so, are you responsible for other people's feelings? Right? You can't control someone else's feelings. If someone's feeling hurt, or if they're feeling disappointed, it's coming from their own thought in the moment. It's not coming from what you did. It's coming from how they're thinking around what you said. And we have no control over that. We have no control over anyone else except ourselves. And at the end of the day, we are accountable and responsible for only ourselves. So we have to stand and account for ourselves and no one else. And we can't say, well, I did this because she made me, or she made me feel this way, or she did this, so I did this. We can't say those things. We have to take full 100% responsibility for our actions, regardless of what's going on in our life. So can you ask yourself if you could say no where you want to, without playing out into your mind and having this dialogue of how someone will interpret and feel and how they're going to respond? And does that hold you back from saying no where you want to say no? Do you feel pressured to say yes because you think you should? And where is this should coming from, this judgment of who's saying you should, right? Our job and our purpose here is really only to serve and to please Allah. Yes, by yes, by serving His creation, not by pleasing them. There's a difference between people pleasing and serving. There's a difference between that. And in order to serve, you have to first fill your own cup. So now that we've talked a little bit about saying yes, saying no, doing what you feel is right for yourself without having the whole internal dialogue, self-editing and the critiquing of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. According to who? Who gets to put those rules onto you? Is it society? Is your family? Where are those expectations coming from? Or are the rules and the expectations coming from Allah? And one of the hadiths that I love, which I have here, it's a hadith Qudsi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if Allah loves a slave, He announces to Angel Jibril, verily Allah loves so and so, so love him. Then Gabriel loves him, and he announces to the inhabitants of the heavens, verily Allah loves so and so, so love him. Then the inhabitants of the heavens love him, and then he is granted the acceptance of the people on earth. So we don't have to go after people to make people validate us, approve of us, be pleased with us. That's not the formula, and I know that we had discussed this before, but this is just an additional reinforcement. So when Allah, another hadith Qudsi is when Allah says, he who is hostile to a friend of mine, I declare war against. My slave approaches me with nothing more beloved to me than what I have made obligatory upon him, and my slave keeps drawing nearer to me with voluntary works until I love him. And when I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, and his hands with which he seizes, and his foot with which he walks. If he asks me, I will surely give to him, and if he seeks refuge in me, I will surely protect him. That is powerful. I mean, there are so many reinforcements in the Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah that point us all into that direction, that formula of really, how do we attain success? How do we move forward in living the life that we are not just destined to live, that we have the potential to live by creating our own destiny, by reliance on Allah, right? He can take us there. Anything that you think it could be a possibility. Just to believe that it's a possibility, it's in Allah's hands. All he has to say is be, and it is. So, when a person devotes all of their love and their hope and their fear and obedience to Allah, then they have so much sincerity and they become a friend of Allah. And it frees us of our illusion of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency, codependency, and just utter reliance on Allah. And, that we just become completely dependent and reliant, just like babies are, just like animals are, on him. And what happens is the heart gets filled up with just Allah, and there's no room for anything else or anyone else in there. And whatever you do, you say, action you take, it becomes all for his sake. And that is what gets filled up in your heart. And when Allah guides our eyes and our hearts and our hands and our actions to doing what is pleasing to him, what could be better than that, right? And at the same time, when all of this is happening, we're blessed with his guidance. He's also telling us, that if we seek his help, he's going to be there for us, and he will grant that to us. And for him to say, whoever is who is hostile to a friend of mine, he declares war against. That's very empowering, that you don't need to worry about what people think of you, how people are going to respond to you, and adjusting yourself so people are not upset, people are happy. We don't have control of people's being angry, sad, happy, right? Because feelings are coming from thought in the moment. We have no control over anyone else's feelings, just our own. And so, whoever places their trust and their faith in him, that's all you really need. And I know that for me, this was also a shift for me. From when I was going through my divorce, I needed to learn this. I needed to acknowledge this and accept this, that every time I was going through divorce proceedings, going to court, going in front of a judge, this was all new and kind of scary for me. And I was afraid of the outcome. I was afraid of the what ifs, putting my hands in the court or the judge of my future, my children, and my well-being, and how my life was going to turn out. This totally helped me in relying and knowing that I'm putting my hands in the judge, the ultimate judge, and I was relying on the ultimate judge. So there's no fear. And Allah tells us, I don't remember the exact ayah, the verse, but that someone who relies on him, there is no fear upon him. And it really did feel that way. It didn't happen overnight, but just getting closer and delving deeper into that was so helpful. So my invitation to you today is, where do you have difficulty saying no? And why do you think that is? Go deeper within yourself and ask yourself that question. Explore it for yourself. Do you feel compelled to say yes? And what happens when you say yes? Like, what's happening in your world? Are you feeling good about it? Are you feeling happy about it? Are you feeling sincere about it? Or are you feeling compelled and obligated and just no choice? So that is my reflection for today and my invitation for today. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and looking forward to talking to you soon on day 11. Take care. Peace and blessings.